It's time for the Texas Renaissance Festival. Over 400 artisans and craftspeople await you in their beautifully recreated 16th century village. Enjoy a worldwide menu featuring savory dishes, tasty sweets, and a variety of drinks. Revel in the finest musicians, entertainers, and nightly fireworks. Stay the weekend with their Stay and Play Pass. Open weekends and Thanksgiving Friday from October 11th through November 30th. Get tickets and more at texrenfest.com. Family merriment awaits. Huzzah! The regional premiere of Eureka Day at Fourth Wall Theater Company in Sawyer Yards is this week on September 19th. This ultra-relevant, hilarious play about debate, agreement, and finding consensus in today's world is a must-see, especially in the Fourth Wall Theater Company's intimate 100-seat black box. The play won big on Broadway this year with the 2025 Tony Award for Best Revival. Tickets start at just $39, plus the theater offers pay-what-you-will nights and other discounts. Check out fourthwalltheaterco.com to get your tickets today. That's the number 4, walltheaterco.com. Today on CityCast Houston, it's official, Judge Lina Hidalgo will not be seeking a third term as Harris County Judge. So what will be her legacy? Plus, the best place to live in Texas is one of our famous suburbs. Let's break down the news from this week with executive producer Laura Isensee. It's Friday, September 19th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. All right, we start Friday's episode with big news all the time, and I want to start with some big news here for CityCast Houston, and this is some sad news for me, but Laura, you take over and tell us this big news, please.
This is my last week officially as executive producer for CityCast Houston, so it's definitely bittersweet because I believe in the mission of CityCast Houston so much, but it's also not goodbye because I am going to be sticking around the local media scene and hope to come back on the show from time to time. So if people want to follow along where my next steps are, they can check out my LinkedIn.
I'll link that. It's been so much fun working with you. And we'll reflect more on the last 16 months a little bit later on in the show. But I just want to thank you for being such a great executive producer for the show. And I know the listeners appreciate it as well.
Yeah, it's been a great chapter. It's been so exciting. One thing that I think is so great about CityCast is that we take this big news and break it down like we're going to do today with Lina Hidalgo, because in some ways it was kind of expected. She's had a rocky road recently at Commissioner's Court. And at the same time, it's really big news for the Democratic Party here in Texas.
Yeah, she officially announced to Melanie Lawson of ABC 13 in an exclusive interview that she will not be seeking re-election. We've been all asking, we've been trying to get some insight, like what will Judge Hidalgo do? Because there are so many different things that happen now in the Democratic Party with her announcement that she's not seeking re-election. But yeah, it's official now. And then she announced it to all her followers on social media and had a press conference. But this was big because now she still has a year and change left as judge. There are still some big programs that she's trying to push across the finish line or, implement in terms of what her legacy will be. And I don't know what's going to happen now. Like, she has no leverage, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to stay on the court when everybody knows you're not going to run again. And also, the way the Harris County Commissioner's Court works is that the individual commissioners who have precincts, they're actually more powerful than the county judge. I mean, the county judge is the top executive, but all those individual commissioners, like they have their own budgets. They have a lot of their own power in their precincts. So, it's hard to tell how much Judge Hidalgo will be able to push forward some of her progressive policies in her last year or so, especially the childcare programs that she's so passionate about. I think in terms of like her legacy, I think we have to step back for a moment and think about how she came onto the scene, right? Like she was part of the blue wave. She was this young, dynamic voice. in her late 20s, originally from Colombia, this really impressive story
Hmm.
as an immigrant, like so many others in Harris County. And then she defeated a two-time Republican incumbent. And everybody was like, who is this? Who is Lina Hidalgo? And, she brought her whole self to the office and cared about public health, cared about progressive policies, easily switched back and forth between English and Spanish. And I think the Texas Democratic Party saw her as somebody who could eventually turn Texas blue and run for higher office. But it hasn't turned out that way. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah, let's go through those reasons. I think one that comes to mind for me is that she never played politics, right? Like you have to play politics as a politician. And what I mean by that is you've got to have relationship, you've got to push policy, you've got to accept policy from the other side, and you got to play that game. And also, there's like this people relationship that you have to be good at. And Judge Hidalgo always spoke her mind. And some people don't like that.
She was just very transparent. And I think sometimes the way the Houston Chronicles editorial put it is that lots of times she was more comfortable reading from a white paper, sort of a policy paper, than kind of doing the retail politics, face to face with people. And I think,
Yeah.
she's been pushing this childcare program, by the book, all these different surveys, a lot of high quality childcare is popular on both sides of the aisle, but she just hasn't built the consensus, even among her fellow Democrats. But I do
Hmm.
think that it's important to acknowledge that a lot of Lina Hidalgo's tenure, especially since the COVID pandemic, has been marked by a lot of partisan attacks. And some of those were because of her own political missteps, but also there were some pretty unfair targeting, specifically some charges that the former Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg leveled against some of her staffers that even the Attorney General's office ended up dismissing because there was no there there. Those criminal cases were dismissed. And so we saw her really become this lightning rod for a lot of GOP frustration or rage.
And for unions as well. I don't know if you saw this, but the police union here in Houston was celebrating the fact that she's not running again. And it's so weird to see the criticisms and how they attack her. It almost seemed personal at times and not based on what she was doing as a politician. She caught a lot of flack for the mental health treatment break that she took from a lot of people. But I feel like, that was a big moment in this second term where she spoke about it and she was open about it and she was
Yeah.
open to the questions and answered them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually part of the positive side of her
Yeah.
legacy, that she was so honest about her mental health. I mean, we know that millions of Americans struggle with mental health. And I think for someone like her with her stature to come out and say, you know what, I need treatment and to step away, I think that was something to be applauded. And I also think she really stepped up as a leader during COVID in the early days of the pandemic and was very clear, was very direct, obviously got into, political fights with Greg Abbott over masks. But I think, even Anise Parker, who could be taking her seat, she's put her hat in to run for Harris County judge.
Yeah.
She told us here on CityCast Houston that she thinks that was a bright spot for Lina Hidalgo and her leadership was how she handled the pandemic, which was unprecedented times. And she did her best to keep Harris County safe.
City council member Dr. Letitia Plummer, also another candidate. So the primaries are going to be coming up early next year in March. And then you've got Marty Langton, who is the head of the Houston Firefighters Union, representing the Republican side, along with Eliza Dutt and Oscar Gonzalez. So this will be interesting. And it's not a guarantee that the Democrats are going to win this seat because in that second term reelection, it was a very close race. Judge Hidalgo only won by 2%.
Yeah, it was really close. And I think her opponent,
Hmm.
Alex Mueller, really drummed up on public safety. And I think kind of this shows part of Lina Hidalgo's weakness is that she kept going back to the stats that crime is going down, but that doesn't change people's feelings if they don't feel safe. And I think the Republicans see Harris County as vulnerable. Not just Lina Hidalgo eked out, but
Mm-mm.
Harris County was not as blue as it usually is. And Texas was redder than possibly ever in the last November election. And so I think even down ballot, we're seeing the GOP lining up to try and flip a lot of judicial seats. So this is going to be a really tough election, both in the primary among the Democrats who want to try and take the top of the ticket for Harris County, and the GOP who see this as a way to win this back because they had it with Ed Emmett, Robert Eccles before him. But, I also think when we're thinking about the political future, it's going to be really interesting to see where Lina Hidalgo goes.
Yeah.
She made it clear she's not just riding off into the sunset. She is leaving the door open to run for political office again. And I have to give her credit. She's going out on her own terms. She's not doing another primary battle. She's saying, you know what? I'm taking a break, and she's going to figure out what she does next. And I think it takes a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah, and she said to Melanie Lawson that, look, I told myself I'm going to do 2 terms and then I'm going to call it. And that's it. So she is done with this part of her life, and then we'll figure out next steps. But I fully expect her to be back in some sort of political position in the future because she has been so open about serving the people. And this is a part of her life that, is really important. So we'll see what happens next. But yeah, as of right now, that's it. Judge Hidalgo not seeking a 3rd term as county judge.
Yeah.
All right, when we get back, let's talk about our overlooked stories for the week.
Hey, y'all. I want to tell you about the newest exhibition at the Holocaust Museum, Houston. It's called Growing Up Jewish: Art and Storytelling, and it starts September 19th. It explores the key people, experiences, and community that shaped artist Jacqueline Cott Wall. The exhibit is a really interesting combination of paintings plus the artist's own narration. So you can see playful images of Jewish holidays, milestones, and so many other experiences, and read the artist's written reflections about being Jewish, from her grandmother's kitchen at Passover to summer camp. The exhibition is included with your general admission ticket to the Holocaust Museum Houston, so plan your visit now at hmh.org/growingupjewish. And don't forget, admission is free for everyone on Thursdays from 2 to 5 p.m. and always free for children and students through age 18 and college students with a valid student ID. You don't want to miss this moving journey through the eyes of a beloved artist. Head to hmh.org/growingupjewish to learn more.
Did you know that September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and kidney cancer is one of the most common types of childhood cancer? So, the Kidney Cancer Association is asking for your help to bring awareness and raise funds through a fun favor. Here it is. Get some chalk, go outside, and write messages of hope on a sidewalk. Yep, that's it. You can raise awareness by chalking up your sidewalk. And be sure to tag the Kidney Cancer Association on social media so they can share your messages of hope with others. And if you can, donate at chalkyourwalk.org so we can raise funds for research. Now's the time to get outside and start drawing so we can come together to fight pediatric kidney cancer. Learn more at chalkyourwalk.org. That's chalkyourwalk.org. Laura, I love my suburbs, and
yes, you do.
Look, and I'll always put up for our suburbs. And one of our local suburbs here was named the best place to live in Texas. Okay, the best place by U.S. News and World Report, and that is, drumroll please, Pearland. How about that? Pearland representing the best place to live in Texas. The suburbs are putting on for the city.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's close to downtown. It has a decent school district. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that sweet spot. Like, it's far enough away that you get a little bit more space and kind of that suburb feel, but you can just drive right into downtown, and it has a lot of amenities. So I'm actually not that surprised. I think maybe Locally, other places
Yeah.
get more attention. Sugarland, the Woodlands, they're very fancy. But Pearland, sleeper hit.
And we had it first, by the way, that Pearland is the best suburb because when we did our suburb showdown earlier this year, my friend Phil represented Pearland and won the vote of Carly on Jones. We were trying to get Carly to move to the suburbs. It was Katie and
Hmm.
Pearland taking on me and Richmond, and Pearland won. So we had this first before anybody. We called it.
Yeah. So why are they saying Pearland is so great? What's driving this ranking?
Yeah, affordability, quality of life, job market strength, and overall desirability were the factors that this list took into account. And Pearland earned an overall score of 7 out of 10. So this is
Hmm.
very big and put a feather in the cap for the suburbs here, representing the greater Houston region.
Yeah. One more question for you, Raheel. So are you going to trade Richmond for Pearland? Are you going to
No,
get a little bit closer in?
no. I'm making my push now to get Richmond in the top 5 as the best place to live in Texas. Okay, so the push
Okay.
starts now for the
Okay.
2026-2027 list. That's what I'm doing.
All right. All right. We'll be watching, see if Richmond can climb up and topple Pearland.
Laura, what story was overlooked for you this week?
Okay, Raheel, this story, it's really heartbreaking and it might be difficult for some people to hear who are sensitive about um, just a few graphic details. So I want to mention that before talking more about it. But I do think it's a really important story that needs more attention. I know earlier in the week on CityCast Houston, y'all were talking about homelessness in the city and how chronic homelessness is on the rise. And there's this other story that happened that kind of touches on a theme there, but it starts off in a different way. That there's this man, 34 years old, Jesse Mobley Jr. He went out to eat over near A-Leaf at
Hmm.
a West African steakhouse last month. It was right before his birthday. And then after he ate, he collapsed on the table. But the staff, instead of calling 911, they basically picked him up, took him outside, and left Jesse on the sidewalk with his backpack.
What?
And their reasoning for this is that they thought he was homeless and they never called 911. And so then the next morning, he was placed next to this beauty school. A student was going to be walking into the beauty school next door, and she saw him slumped against the glass. Parts of his skin were turning purple. There were ants crawling on his ear.
Oh my
And that's when
gosh.
somebody finally called 911, but it was too late. He died. And so now we have the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office trying to determine what the cause of death was. And then on the police side, they're saying that there's no belief that Mobley was the victim of a crime. But they put out a press statement, which is how we started to learn details of this. But most of all, Jesse's family is asking, why didn't anybody pick up the phone and ask for help? And I think the bigger question for us as a community, as Houstonians, is why would someone being homeless be an excuse not to call 911? Why would somebody not having a stable house or place to go be a reason to put someone literally on the sidewalk to potentially die? And it's one of those stories where you have to look in the mirror and say, is this really us?
Yeah.
Is this really us?
What I don't get about this, Laura, is that Rebecca Schutz, who is the reporter and was our guest this week, she was the one reporting on this and talked to the steakhouse. And a person at the steakhouse told her that they often give people food when they can't afford food. So they do care about the people who might be experiencing homelessness, but why didn't they just call 911? What happened in this instance where a restaurant that does care decided not to? I
Mhm.
can't comprehend this.
I mean, the restaurant, which is KFFO Afro Steakhouse, they didn't give a lot of information to the Houston Chronicle reporter Rebecca Schutz. Somebody told her that, it's sort of a cultural tradition to give food to those who don't have any, but the owner at first told her that she would think about talking, or one of the owners, I should say, but then they never responded to any more comments. And so I think that's where there's some of these questions from the family. The family wants to know what happened. Why didn't anybody ask for help? And you got to read the whole story, because what makes this even more heartbreaking is Jesse's personal story, that he faced a lot of hardship in his life. He was born with HIV because his mom was sick, and then his mom died when he was very young. And he had some mental health struggles, but he dreamed of starting a family. Like, he wanted to find someone special and he wanted to have a family. And, his aunt now is just heartbroken and keeps leaving memorials outside the restaurant that keep getting taken down.
Oh,
And again, I think beyond feeling sad, I think this is a time to really ask ourselves of, you know, are we still that Houston that takes care of its neighbors? And, again, going back to the theme of how we treat the unhoused, Rebecca had another story about how, we have these new ordinances and cracking down on people sleeping in the streets and sleeping in public parks, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think there's a larger conversation to be had of how we treat people who don't have stable housing.
yeah, it's one that we have to reflect on and think about as a community here in the greater Houston area, because it is something that we are losing. I
Mhm.
feel like that fact that this is a person, this is another human with a life, and we should take care of life. It should always be precious, yet we
Mhm.
seem to be losing that. So I hope this story opens people's eyes, and, maybe this was just one incident, but we have to be better.
Mhm.
This was a hard one for sure. Step into the conversation that's shaping Texas's future at the Texas Tribune Festival. The Texas Tribune is bringing together inspiring thinkers, leaders, and innovators to discuss the issues that matter to you. Dive into unforgettable conversations spanning education, the economy, healthcare, energy, technology, public safety, culture, the arts, and more. TribFest gives you an up-close look at how big ideas take shape and how they affect your life. You'll connect with fellow Texans, engage directly with experts and leaders, and leave inspired to turn your boldest ideas into reality. This isn't just another political event. It's a catalyst for shaping the future of Texas today. Mark your calendars, November 13th through the 15th in downtown Austin. Get info and tickets at tribfest.org. That's tribfest.org. Ready to have some fun this summer? Well, downtown Houston is where you need to head, because they're jam-packed with cool events every day. You know I love a good workout, and downtown Houston has so many free fitness classes. Plus, they have brand new dance classes at Market Square Park featuring merengue, bachata, and salsa. Just want to relax? How about some live music or their awesome movies under the stars? And you can't forget about their summer trivia nights at Trebley Park. There's something for everyone. So grab the kids, the dog, your date, or just yourself and enjoy your summer in Houston's original neighborhood. Here's one last tip. Blanket Bingo is back this month, but act fast because tickets do sell out. Find the full list of events at downtownhouston.org or text downtown to 56512 for all the fun at your fingertips. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. Okay, Laura, for the last time ever as executive producer of CityCast Houston, you'll still be back on the show, okay? But
Yeah.
as official executive producer, it is time for our moments of joy. You kick it off.
Oh my gosh, what can I say other than the fact that getting to work with you and Brooke Lewis, the newsletter editor, and Carleon Jones as producer, this has been so many different moments of joy in my tenure here at CityCast Houston. And like I said, I'm not going far. Hopefully, you'll hear my voice again to talk about Houston news. And I think one thing that I'm so excited about is some really cool projects that y'all are cooking up for later this year. And yeah, it's just been great being able to work with you, talk about the news, talk about things we love about Houston, like how Hillcroft Street is a foodie's paradise and all the amazing places. So,
Oh, so good.
my moment of joy is just being able to get to do this and bring local news and build local community here in Houston, my hometown.
Yeah, we appreciate everything that you've put into the show. It's been a blast working with you, and your passion for the city came across the mic. So thank you for making this city a better place and creating this community. And I truly mean that. It's been so much fun to work with you. And I can't wait to have you back on. Again, this is not a goodbye. This is just, we'll talk to you later. We'll talk to you in a few weeks. No big deal.
Yeah, hasta pronto. Hasta luego. See you down the road.
And can I say one thing about Hillcroft? I was there last week, and Hillcroft in Dashwood.
Okay.
Can I just tell you, I had the best sugarcane juice ever. It was a random vendor,
Nice.
and she was just selling sugarcane juice. I was like, I need some sugarcane juice in my life right now. The best one I've ever had. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Hillcroft continues to live up as the best foodie street.
Yes. Hidden gem. Got to check it out.
Okay, for me, my moment of joy is that the Bayou City Arts Festival is coming up, and our friends there gave us some tickets to give away right here on the podcast and also on social media. But you have to follow us on Instagram at CityCast Houston for the social media giveaway. But I want to give away 4 tickets to the Bayou City Arts Festival right now on the podcast. And all you have to do is email the word art to houston@citycast.fm. That email again is houston@citycast.fm. Just email art and you'll be automatically entered. I'll pick a random winner and you get to go and experience one of the best art festivals here in the city. The weather's going to be fantastic. So definitely do it right now.
Now that I won't be officially with CityCast, can I just send an email and can I be entered to win?
Hey, I'm good with it. As long as you become a CityCast Houston neighbor as well for $10 a month, okay? You got to register for that.
Hey, sign me up. Sign me up.
Laura, thank you so much. It's been a blast. Can't wait to talk to you again on the podcast. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Raheel. Back at you.
That was executive producer Laura Isensee. All of the stories we talked about are linked in our show notes. Hey, help us grow the show by sharing this episode with 3 friends who live in Pearland. Also, subscribe to CityCast Houston if you haven't yet, and check out our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, for more H-Town news and happenings. Thanks. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producers this week were Selena C.A. Reynolds and Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editors this week were Natalia Aldana and Brooke Lewis. Our executive producer is Laura Isensee, and I'm your host, Raheel Ramzanali. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos, with additional music courtesy of Rob McAllister, Steve Curry, DJ DeWeese, and David Harris from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. We'll be back on Monday with the start of a special week of programming centered on education, with the first episode looking at new state laws that are changing college and public education. Thank you for listening and enjoy your weekend. And overall desirability.